Hey everybody, this is Everyday Commentary. This is a video overview of a knife I just got in. This is the TRM Bulldog. There is a release of Bulldogs on Monday, I think it's November 11th, 2024. I wanted to get this video recorded and up, so if you like the knife, you have a chance to get the knife. So this is the latest design from TRM. It is a successor to the Shadow. It is designed to be what I guess is a simpler Shadow. It's basically if the Shadow had a baby with this knife, which is one of my very favorite knives of all time. This is the TRM Neutron 2. So there it is up next to the TRM Neutron 2. And then I will show it against the Holy Nerd. There it is against the Holy Nerd. As you can see, this is a knife that's roughly in line with the size of the TRM Neutron 2. I mean, it basically is covered up by the Neutron 2. However, this is a little bit different knife. But before we get to talking about the specifics, let's do some standardized size comparisons. Here it is, laid on top of a US dollar. As you can see, it's a pretty big blade for a Neutron or the TRM. Here it is in the standard thickness next to a AA battery. So let's talk about what this knife is. So first of all, this knife is a 3.6 ounce steel, full steel liners with a back spacer. It is designed to be a little bit more robust everyday carry knife. It has the river lock, which is their version of the sliding bar lock, and it opens via this thumb hole, which is not dissimilar to the thumb hole. It's a little bigger than the thumb hole on the Nerd, but it is not gigantic by any means. This is 3D contoured G10. It has this black back spacer, and it runs the same clip as the Nerd. In fact, they look almost identical. Love this clip. This clip, I think, is probably better than this clip. This clip's a little wonky, but, you know, it's still a great clip. This clip is a little better. The knife, as you can see, has significantly thicker blade stock than the N2. I mean, one of the reasons why I love the N2 so much is the blade stock is positively super mega slicey. You are not going to find blade stock much thinner than that. This is like right around the same thickness as something like the Spyderco Delica and right around the thickness of something like the Kershaw Bel Air. This knife, on the other hand, it's not thick blade stock. It's not gigantic blade stock. But for a TRM knife, it is quite thick, as you can see right there. That's the N2 on the bottom and the Bulldog on the top. This is a substantially beefier knife than the N2. Here it is. I'm going to put up the blade stock on the Nerd. And again, you can see the blade stock on the Nerd is thinner than the blade stock on the Bulldog. Let me go get another knife to see if I can show you a comparison. So the knife that I have in the shop is this knife. This is the Stretch 2. It is the Spear Point Stretch 2. Really great knife. If you're looking for a really easy, simple to use knife, this comes in K390. It wasn't all that expensive. And you can see that they're about the same thickness, especially up at the full thickness of the blade on the Stretch. The Stretch is a much bigger knife, though. I mean, you can see this knife is substantially larger. It's just a much bigger knife. Let's talk a little bit about the stuff I like and what I don't like on the Bulldog. So, first thing is, I really like the lock. The lock came in perfectly dialed in, no blade play whatsoever, and unlike a lot of the axis lock knives, sliding bar lock knives out there, this knife has like a legit detent, and that's because as you can see, let's see if I can point it out. As you can see right there, there's a little spot in the back of the blade that will catch the sliding bar lock. Ching, and now it's in. The D10 here is like legit, and that's one thing I really like about the knife. The other thing I really like about the knife is the overall design. This is basically like a more robust Riverlock version of the N2, whereas the Shadow was basically a scaled up Nerd, and I like the Nerd too, but I just, oh man, I love the N2. The knife itself has like a 3.1 inch blade, maybe a 3.2 inch blade. As you can see, there's a finger choil there. Everything has just been absolutely perfectly contoured and scalloped. You have really good access to the choil. You have good access to the sliding bar lock. The knife drops shut. You can't take this knife apart like you can with the N2. I imagine the Omega Springs assembly is probably a little more complicated than they wanted end users to mess around with. This one is made of 20 CV. I think they've done it in Magna Cut. This knife is new for 2024. One cool thing is this flush mounted backspacer. If you touch it, it has no texture, right? Like you can just swipe across, right? But if you push your fingers in, the meat of your thumb will catch on this gearing. And so it allows the knife to slide in and out of your pocket easily. But if you put some pressure on it, it gives you texture, which I think is a very clever design touch. The pocket clip works great. It is a very simple, deep carry over the top pocket clip. It has good blade tension, or good spring tension. The mouth is good. It spreads the contact point over a wider point than some knives. So I really like the clip. The lock is super easy to engage and disengage. These are about the best shaped catches for a sliding bar lock on the market. I really, really, really like them. The knife is a little thicker, and so the question is, how will it hold up over time? I'm sure it will be fine in terms of durability, but will I like it as much as the Ultra Slicey N2? That, I don't know. And so I don't think there's anything that I dislike about the knife, but that's one thing I am holding off judgment on. They do a really good job getting this down to a super, super, super keen edge. So we'll have to take a look and see how it works in practice. But I don't think it's going to be an issue, and here's why. Most knives are this thick. If you're not looking at the thinnest, sliciest knives like the Kershaw Bel Air or the N2, you're getting blade stock that's this thick. And for most tasks, that's perfectly fine. The question is, will I like that as much as I like this? I mean, that's just like, it's like a scalpel. It's so thin. It's so easy to use. And now that the knife is contoured, it doesn't have that like, what do I grab onto shape, where there's like nothing to grab onto. You kind of feel like you're trying to grab onto the handle of a disposable fork. This, on the other hand, this really fills the hand. This is a meatier handle by a large margin compared to the N2. It really does fill the hand, and all the curves and cuts are in the right place. Another nice touch here is the exposed rear tang. None, not at all. And that's just like, like one of those little touches where you just like tip your hat. You're like, oh, nice choil. And it covers the exposed rear tang. Really, really great knife. I am excited to use this knife. I'm excited to carry this knife. I'm excited they made a new knife. But this is a quick overview of the TRM Bulldog.